You're lying in bed with your phone 2 inches from your face, thumb doing that little autopilot scroll, and suddenly your chest feels tight. Someone your age is moving to a new city. Someone is launching a business. Someone is soft quitting a job you don't even have yet. Someone is posting a perfect friend group, a perfect body, a perfect day, with a caption that pretends it's casual. And you're just there, staring at it, thinking, why does everything feel so heavy? Not in a dramatic way, in a quiet way, like you're carrying a backpack you never agreed to pack. Here's how it usually shows up. You wake up already behind. Not because you overslept, but because the world has been awake without you. There are new posts, new opinions, new crises, new trends. Even your rest comes with a notification light. You go to make a simple decision: what to wear, what to study, what to do with your life. And it doesn't feel like one decision. It feels like a public statement. Like you're not choosing a shirt, you're choosing a version of yourself. And if you choose wrong, someone will notice. Or worse, you'll notice. And then there's the weird guilt, the kind nobody warns you about. You're not starving. You're not in a war zone. You have access to information and therapy content and productivity tools and more options than any generation before you. So why do you feel like you're failing at being a person? You try to explain it to someone older and they say, just put the phone down, as if the phone is the problem. But you and I both know, even when the phone is down, the feeling doesn't always go away. Now let's talk about where this actually comes from. The first thing you'll notice is this. You're growing up in a world where you're always being watched, even when nobody is literally watching. Not just by strangers, by friends, by classmates, by potential employers, by future partners, by an invisible audience that lives in the back of your mind. It's like you're living in a glass house and also building the house at the same time. And every time you move the furniture, you wonder if it looks right. That does something to your identity. Identity is supposed to form through experimenting. You try something, you cringe, you change, you grow. You're allowed to have phases. But when every phase can be recorded, screenshot, reposted, and judged, experimenting starts to feel dangerous. So instead of asking, what do I like? You start asking, what version of me will survive out there? And that's exhausting, because your self becomes a product you have to manage, a brand with customer reviews. The second pattern is more subtle, and it's the one that messes with your nervous system. Gen Z didn't just grow up online. You grew up compared. Not in the normal way, like looking at the cool kid at school. I mean, compared to thousands of people a day. People filtered, curated, edited, optimized. People showing their highlight reels while you're living in the unedited behind the scenes. Your brain is not built to handle that. There's an old piece of psychology we can translate into plain language. Your mind learns what's normal by what it sees repeatedly. So if you repeatedly see people with perfect skin, perfect routines, perfect apartments, perfect confidence, your brain quietly files that under normal. And then you look at your life, messy, uncertain, human, and it gets filed under failing, even if, objectively, you're doing fine. It's like living next to a movie set and forgetting it's a movie set. And here's the trap. You don't just compare achievements. You compare timelines. You compare how fast you should heal, how fast you should find your purpose, how fast you should get over heartbreak, how fast you should become the best version of yourself. So even your pain becomes something you feel behind on. And the third one? This is the one that hits hardest. Uncertainty is no longer an occasional season. It's the weather. You're trying to build a stable identity on moving ground. Older generations had problems, absolutely. But many of them grew up with an unspoken promise. If you work hard, things will probably make sense. There was a ladder, The ladder might be unfair, but it was there. You're looking at the world and seeing the ladder is missing steps. Jobs are unstable. Housing is ridiculous. The planet is acting like it's running out of patience. Politics feels like it's allergic to calm, and the future keeps changing its mind. So your nervous system does something very reasonable. It stays on guard. Because how do you relax when the world keeps hinting that relaxing is irresponsible? That's why everything feels heavy. Not because you're weak, because you're trying to be okay inside a reality that keeps shifting under your feet. But here's the part nobody talks about. The heaviness isn't just anxiety, it's meaning. Or more specifically, it's the pressure to create meaning in public. When you grow up online, you're not only living your life, you're also watching other people narrate theirs. Everyone has a story. Everyone has a journey. Everyone has a hot take about how to live. Everyone is turning their identity into content. And slowly, without realizing it, you absorb the idea that your life isn't real unless it's legible. If you can't explain what you're doing, where you're going, what you stand for, what your plan is, then you feel like you don't exist properly. So you start trying to solve yourself like a puzzle. What's my purpose? What's my aesthetic? What's my attachment style? What's my trauma pattern? What's my 5-year plan? What would the healed version of me do? And those questions can be helpful. But when you ask them with a gun to your head, they become a prison. Because the truth is, identity isn't something you find once. It's something you build, then rebuild, then refine. And building takes time. Time looks messy. Messy doesn't photograph well, so you hide the mess. And now you're lonely inside your own life. This is where it gets interesting. A lot of what people call laziness in Gen Z is actually a freeze response. When your brain senses that every move will be evaluated, and every choice has consequences, and the future is unpredictable, it sometimes chooses the safest option. Do nothing. Delay. Scroll. Numb out. Not because you don't care, because caring feels like stepping onto a stage with no script. And you might not even realize you're doing it until you look up and it's 2 a.m. and you're watching someone reorganize their fridge for the 3rd time because for some reason that feels more manageable than your own thoughts. So what do you do with this? Not a fix your life in 5 steps moment. A real shift. The first shift is this. Separate yourself from your performance. You have a performing self, that version of you that knows how to look okay, sound okay, seem productive, seem funny, seem unbothered. And you have a private self, the one that's confused, tender, inconsistent, still becoming. The internet rewards the performing self, but your mental health depends on the private self having a home. So you practice doing small things that are real and not for display. You journal and don't post a quote from it. You take a walk and don't track it. You try a hobby you're bad at and don't monetize it. You let something be yours. Not everything needs to become a statement. The second shift is learning to treat comparison like weather. Because comparison isn't going to disappear. Your brain will do it automatically. That's human. But you can change the relationship. When you feel that punch in the stomach scrolling, you don't have to shame yourself. You can just name it. Okay, my brain is doing the comparison thing. And then ask one gentle question. Am I comparing my behind the scenes to their edited trailer? Most of the time, you are. And if you want something practical, try this. Follow fewer people who make you feel like you're late to your own life. Not because they're bad, because your nervous system is tired. Curate like you're protecting a younger sibling, because you are. And the third shift is the deepest one. Stop trying to solve your whole life. Start trying to live one honest week. The world makes you feel like you need a master plan to be allowed to relax. But meaning doesn't only come from grand purpose. Meaning comes from small integrity, from keeping one promise to yourself, from telling the truth to one person, from doing one thing that feels like you. When the future is uncertain, your brain hunts for control. So give it a kind of control. Not figure out your destiny. More like, today I'll eat something real. Today I'll move my body for 10 minutes. Today I'll send the message I've been avoiding. Today I'll stop pretending I'm fine and just admit I'm overwhelmed. Those sound small, but small is how you climb out of heaviness. Because heaviness isn't only sadness, it's carrying 1,000 invisible expectations, and you don't have to carry them all at once. Here's what I want you to take away. If everything feels heavy, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're trying to become yourself in a world that keeps demanding a finished version of you. But you're not a finished product. You're a person. And the most quietly powerful thing you can do is let yourself be in progress without turning that progress into proof. If this felt like it was written about you, you're not alone. Subscribe to Inner World. We'll keep exploring the patterns that make us human and how to live with them a little more gently.
We'll keep exploring the patterns that shape you and how to finally live inside your own life without constantly grading yourself.